Tony Abbott, good morning. Welcome.
Morning, Barry.
What do you make of all that? Is it the normal cut and thrust of politics?
I think that she was sounding like the alternative opposition leader, not like the Prime Minister, and I think that's a real pity. It doesn't look like a government. It looks like an alternative opposition, and I think that's one of the reasons why people are turning off Labor.
But it's not getting to you, though, is it? You can take it?
Look, do I look hurt? Do I look upset?
You did say, though, that it was needlessly personal.
Well, again, I think she does look like an alternative opposition leader. She's making the kind of attacks on the opposition that are more characteristically the attacks the opposition makes on the government.
What do you think about the wrecker tag, though? Is that starting to bite? Is that something you just should be aware of?
Obviously, she is worried that we are effective critics of the government, and the fact that they are using that term means that our critique is effective.
But you know, if they say it often enough, sometimes it
sticks.
Look,
the Goebbels technique, I mean, keep repeating the big lie, and people will eventually believe it. But I don't think anyone who watched me and watched the Coalition through the election campaign would say that we lacked positive policies on welfare, on health, on education, on the economy. We came up with positive proposals that would help to address the serious problems that our country faces.
But since the campaign, though, and looking through more forward to next year, what do you really want to achieve next year apart from holding the government to account?
Well, that is important. I mean, in the end, that is the core business of opposition. But we've also got to be a credible alternative, and that's why I'm talking about lower taxes, fairer welfare, better services and stronger borders.
Yeah, not stopping the boats anymore.
Well, stronger borders is, if you like, the flip side, Barry, of stopping the boats.
But it's a new phrase. What happens to stopping the boats?
Well, stopping the boats needs to happen. It does need to happen. We can't have stronger borders if the boats keep coming. But it is important to be a credible alternative. And that's why, as I said, it'll be lower taxes, fairer welfare, better services and stronger borders.
But is that it for 2011? Just come up with a new slogan?
No, we're going to deepen our conversation with the public. If you look at the policies that we took to the election, the policies that would get more women into the workforce, more seniors into the workforce, more young people, particularly people who'd been on welfare for a long time, into the workforce. If you look at what we were saying about getting better locally managed hospitals, better locally managed schools. These were all very good policies, but we need to own them with the people in a way that I suspect we don't yet, Barry. And that's the task of 2011, to give the Australian people the confidence that were we to be in government, things would be different and better, and that we could implement policy without the kind of disaster after disaster, the shambolic implementation which has characterised this government.
And when you're talking about getting more people into the workforce, unemployment is low. Mm-hmm. How do you plan to do that?
Well, but we also have very large numbers of people on benefits who are working age people. We have a comparatively low participation rate. We have a lot of older people who I think still have a contribution to make economically as well as socially, and we want to develop the policies that we took to the election.
But there is room in the workforce for them?
Look, if you talk to employers, many of them will say that they would like to employ more people. The question is, do they have the people? Do they have the system?
On industrial relations, more broadly, Andrew Robb says that business is getting restless again, but you don't seem to detect that.
Well, my door hasn't been knocked down in the rush of people saying you've got to change Labor's system. As I have said so many times, let me repeat it, Barry, work choices is dead, buried and cremated, and as far as the coalition is concerned, it always will be. But it's now up to business and others to come to us if they think there are problems with the operation and implementation of Labor's laws. If people think there is a case for change, they need to make that case for change. As far as the coalition is concerned, our approach will be pragmatic and problem-solving. It won't be ideological.
So if they make that case for change, then you will change the laws?
Well, let's see them make the case for change.
Yes, but it follows that if they do make the case, you will change the laws.
If there are big problems, obviously we will address them, but people have to make the case for change. People have to come to us and say, these are the problems that are being caused by Labor's laws.
The laws aren't cremated at all.
Work choices is dead, buried and cremated.
But you are open to making changes to the laws?
If there are very serious problems and people can make the case for change, obviously we're not deaf, dumb and blind here, but they've got to make the case for change. In a sense, it is up to them to make the case for change, to bring us the problems.
On the election, and reflecting back on that, you do seem to suggest that technically you won, but you lost the negotiations
Well, we
afterwards.
certainly did lose the negotiation. There's no doubt about that.
And why? Why did that happen?
Oh, look, I'm not going to speculate. I mean, it was an interesting 17 days. I think that I put my best foot forward, but they didn't want to dance with me.
But Julia Gillard is a better negotiator. Do you accept that?
Well, in that context, there is no doubt about it. She got 2 and I got 1.
And she's done pretty well since on negotiations. 54 bills have gone through, and it's 54-0.
Most of them with coalition support. I mean, most of the bills that went through were comparatively uncontentious. But the fact of the matter, Barry, is this is a bad government getting worse. And the barrage of criticism from within Labor's own ranks, the orgy of navel-gazing which is going on inside the Labor Party right now, demonstrates not only is this a government that's lost its way, but it's a party that's lost its soul.
What do you think was your greatest achievement during 2010?
I don't want to blow my own trumpet. I just want to say that I was pleased to have the chance to lead the party, and I'm pleased to continue to have that chance to lead the party.
And you brought down Kevin Rudd. You've taken credit for that.
Look, Kevin Rudd obviously is no longer the Prime Minister, although I think his legacy, for better or for worse, perhaps for worse as far as the current Prime Minister is concerned, lives on.
You have said about Kevin Rudd that he was the most unfairly treated man in Australian political history. You were the one who brought him down.
Well, it wasn't just me, but the fact... I did my job, Barry. I did my job, which is to hold the government of the day to account. The people who
but there's
didn't
a
do their
contradiction
job...
there. You say you did your job in bringing down somebody who was the most unfairly treated person in Australian political history.
I think there's no doubt, Barry, that he was very unfairly treated by many of his colleagues.
Yeah, and by you, by implication.
I did my job. The question is, did the Labor Party do its job? Did they give their then Prime Minister the support that he deserved under pressure?
Now, as Julia Gillard has said that there shouldn't be an election next year and there shouldn't be one in 2012, she's looking at 2013. Do you think that's likely, that there won't be an election before then?
Well, there are 2 ways to have an election. The first is for the Prime Minister to go to Government House and seek a dissolution. And the second is if a vote of no confidence in the government is carried in the Parliament. Now, I don't think Julia Gillard is in any hurry to ask for an election because I think that the Labor brand is increasingly toxic right around the country. And at the moment, there's no indication that the independents are likely to change their mind.
If it does go all the way to 2013, by then we'll have clear evidence as to whether there is a surplus in the 2012-13 budget. If that was to happen, if they were to achieve a surplus, would you then accept that they're better economic managers than what you'd given them credit for?
The only way they will ever achieve a surplus, and I think it's a big if, is through higher taxes, Barry. And I mean, that is the inevitable consequence of the continuation of this government. A mining tax that will damage our most productive sector, and a carbon tax that is going to hit every family's cost of living. So if they achieve a surplus, it'll be on the back of unnecessary and destructive new taxes.
Now, on the experience in Victoria, Ted Baillieu gave preferences to Labor ahead of the Greens and seemed to win a lot of respect for that. Will you do likewise at the federal election?
First, let me just say what a great job Ted Baillieu did. Absolutely magnificent job. Really great job. Second, he made that decision about preferences 13 days before the election, and I suspect that well before the next federal election, Barry, you will know what we're doing with preferences. But please, we're about 800 days perhaps out from a federal election. It's premature to speculate about this.
Yeah, but it's not a political decision to make. It's a position on principle, isn't it? And Labor's not going to change. The Greens aren't going to change in that time.
And as I said, Ted, to his credit, made the decision 13 days before an election. What I'm doing is pointing out the truth. And the truth is that while Labor is in government, the Greens are in power. This is a Labor-Green alliance. Nearly all of the policy changes which the government has announced since the election, the carbon tax, the watering down of detention, the permanent nationalisation of the NBN, are all the gay marriage distraction, they're all a response to Green pressure.
Well, let's break down what preferences really mean. Who would you prefer to run the country? Would you prefer the Labor Party or the Greens?
The coalition.
If it was a choice between Labor and the Greens?
It's not. It's a choice between Labor and the coalition, and I would prefer a coalition government every day.
Okay, just finally on the WikiLeaks matter, and Julian Assange has said the government has betrayed them. He's an Australian citizen. Do you think his rights are being protected?
The first thing to say, Barry, is that anything which detracts from national and international security is very serious. It's most unfortunate. Now, I presume that the US government is going after the people who provided information to Assange. As for Assange, if he's broken the law, he should be prosecuted.
And would you have cancelled his passport by now?
Well, as I said, if he's broken the law, he should be prosecuted. That's what should happen.
There's no evidence that he's broken the law to this point.
Well, that's up to the relevant authorities. If he's broken the law, he should be prosecuted.
Okay, and just finally, what are you doing over Christmas? You're taking a long break?
Look, I will have a break, Barry. I'll be off to the caravan park on the south coast, as usual, with some of my old friends and their families. But while individuals will have a break, the coalition is never on holidays.
Well, thanks for joining us here in the studio. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Barry. Thank you.